Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank each of you for your public service and being with us today. Last week, I had the occasion of meeting with a small community bank in my district and the president and the credit officer there. And, Mr. Chairman, for the record, I would like to introduce a memo that they have provided.
Without objection.
The discussion we had was, frankly, very informing but very alarming to appreciate the real challenges and difficult that each of you go to. And I'm going to read a bit of his comments. I videotaped him, and then we have transcribed the comments. It was so amazing to me what, regrettably, he had to say. He said, we're a $145 million bank, 2 branches and 27 employees. We all spend time with customers trying to build our business. But the sheer complexity in the mortgage system makes it almost impossible for an entity of our size to appropriately meet all these regulations. This is the ability to repay a qualified mortgage rule small entity guide. This, and he held it up, this guide is 56 pages. There have been, since it was published in August of 14th of 2013, 4 additional pages of additional rules that have been added. If based on this guide you meet certain criteria, you have to provide an escrow account for the individual's taxes and insurance on their mortgages. If you want to do this, there's another small entity guide for the TILA RESPA. This is another 91 pages, and he held it up. If you want to pay your mortgage originator, then you have the 80-page small entity guide, and he held that up for the 213 loan origination. For all of these guides, there is a paragraph that's contained in all of them. And there are other guides that apply to the mortgage loans as well. That basic paragraph says this guide summaries that the ATRQM rule, but is not a substitute for the rule. Essentially, it says you must refer to the final rule. The final rule is 185 pages long. The final rule then refers to the Act. The Act, of course, thousands of pages. And as I said earlier, it's longer than the Bible. So our ability to understand all of these rules and appropriately follow them is very difficult to do. And he commended me, Congressman, do whatever you can, help us out. I'd just like to know, is this your experience as well? Mr. Fenderson, Mr. Williams, and any of the rest of you, Mr. Miller?
I would say that you explain a very real scenario in which, as a banker, we not only, so our prudential regulator is the OCC. So they have regulation that they're sharing with us that we have to understand and interpret, and then we have the rules from the CFPB that we have to learn and understand. And so that creates a volume of information that if you have 27 employees, which happens to be exactly what we have, it becomes difficult. We only have one person that's dedicated to compliance. We had to add that person in order to try to be prepared for the regulations that are coming down the pipe.
And another cost burden to you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Williams?
Clearly, we're seeing in our area, 11% of banks are just getting out of the business because they that once were in the business of making single-family residential loans. We had the wheel invented. We're staying in it. But the point is, we have a long relationship with our rural customers, and we understand them. We know who's going to repay and who's not, and we're going to stick with them. But that doesn't matter. Too many banks are getting out of it simply over we're not going to make QM loans.
How many man-hours would you say a year it's added to your compliance requirements?
Well, we had 1 compliance officer 5 years ago. Today we have 6.
Mr. Miller, do you want to make a comment?
We haven't grown our compliance department as aggressively as Mr. Williams' bank has, but we're heading down that road.
Yes, ma'am.
NCUA has estimated that it will take 40 hours to review the 450-page proposal regarding our call reports for under the new risk-based capital that they're proposing. When you mentioned the Bible, it made me think of something that I was thinking about yesterday. Envision 450 pages. That's almost a ream of paper that you get in a standard package. Good luck. Someone might be able to read it in 40 hours, but to understand it, go back, figure out how it's going to impact your operation, all the changes you have to make, 40 hours is nothing toward the additional labor this costs. And I was thinking that at least when I thought of that much paper, the Old Testament. But it's huge, and 40 hours does not adequately describe the number of hours.
Longer than the Bible, but none of the good news.